Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Okwoche. In the last 5 years or so, a few trends have found cultural and behavioral expression in parts of Africa. Political and economic changes on the continent have occurred either as a result of a revolution against government or the evolution of technology, both of which are largely inspired by the use of internet. With more businesses now springing up online by the day, buying and selling without physical contact has become a virtual reality. So what are your thoughts on the concept of e-commerce in Africa? You can join the conversation and share with us on Twitter at TVC Africa Today. We'll take a report and Africa Today will continue. Welcome on board.
Until recently, online shopping in Nigeria was far from popular due to the prevalence of internet scams. But all that has changed with the arrival of Jumia. The startup company's popularity has skyrocketed in the past year and creates 2 new jobs every day. Just a little over a year ago, Jumia resembled any other online startup. But what began with just 10 employees has ballooned into a 450-man operation and given rise to the 4th most popular website in Nigeria, taking the online shopping market by storm.
I doubt there are many markets in the world with 160 million people, growing middle class, and nothing in terms of organized retail. And so for us, that's the vision that Jumia has, to help build organized retail here in the largest country in Africa.
Jumia's strength is that it delivers straight to the customer's door, even in the north of the country and other remote areas. And to get around the nationwide problem of online scamming, Jumia allows customers, if they chose, to pay for their items once it's been delivered.
I can look at it and pay straight here because sometimes, it's not always reliable to use cards. You're not sure whether to use your card and your details online to share your information, but it's always easier when you can see the person, you can see your item, and you can pay for it straight away.
Keen to win trust, the e-retail company also employs a team of 100 salesmen and women to show prospective customers how the service works. It's this human touch that is the key to building its reputation and helping win over Nigerians to online shopping.
Nigeria is more of an offline market, but bringing in online market into Nigeria. We believe that we still need to introduce online shopping to Nigerians, and the only way to do it is having people meet them in person.
Apart from Jumia, there is a growing number of e-retail companies spread across Africa, which are in Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, and Morocco. Amina Hamid, Africa Today.
Right, following its evolution and expansion in the developing regions of the world, e-commerce is emerging in Africa. In Nigeria alone, e-commerce is said to be responsible for transactions worth about $2 million every week and more than $1 billion on a monthly basis. Joining on Africa Today, we have Okwoche, Chief Executive, shoptomydoor.com. You're welcome to Africa Today.
Thank you so much.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, and on Skype we have Paul Frimpong, Executive Director, Economic Business Group, Africa. He's joining us live from Ghana. Paul, it's good to have you on Africa Today. All right, we'll have him on as we get along. Now, okay, that's fine. The trend of e-commerce on the African continent seems to be relatively new,
yes,
but it's taking over everything.
Yes.
Why this time? What is responsible for this new trend?
I think it's the penetration of internet. Without internet, you cannot have e-commerce. And one thing we are seeing is a huge drop in the cost of data access. If you look at Nigeria, for example, 5 years ago, you had to pay close to 30,000 to access internet, and you have access just for the weekend. Now, everybody have their mobile phones. For 1,500, you have access to over 2 gigabytes of data in a monthly basis. So that is the key driver, the reduction in the cost of internet access.
All right, yeah. But is it cheap when you're talking apart from internet?
Sure.
Talking about the e-commerce itself, the buying and selling, is it cheaper to get things online than physically from the market?
It may not necessarily be cheaper, but the key driver is the ease. Now, let's take most countries in Africa, infrastructurally wise, it's not the best. You know, so if I were to go to the market, let's take Nigeria, for example, Lagos, which is like the biggest city in Africa. If I were to go buy, for example, a pair of shoes, I need to dedicate 3-4 hours of my time. You know, why waste that when I can sit in the comfort of my home or office, or even from my mobile phone and access the internet? You know, a few days' time, those items are delivered to you. So it's the ease, it's the convenience that is really driving e-commerce in Africa. We still have a long way to go in terms of logistics because with good logistics...
Because I was going to ask the challenges of e-commerce generally because...
the challenges are a lot, but from our experience at Shop to My Door, the biggest challenge we have is the local logistics and the government policies on ground. Take, for example, our platform, basically, e-commerce is not just about local participants in a country. E-commerce is a global phenomenon, you know, whereby, and Shop to My Door, for example, what we do is we allow people who may be here in Nigeria to shop from the US, UK, and China. Now, while it takes us a few days to get the products, 2 days transit time from the US to Nigeria, within Nigeria, Lagos to a place like Kano can take us about 4 or 5 days. So you can see the challenge that we're having locally due to the type of infrastructure in place. Second is government policies. You know, that is also another key factor. The authorities are not fully ripe for the e-commerce field. You know, legislation and a lot of things will definitely need to come in to really open up the sector.
Yeah, because when you talk about the government policy, I guess that's really a very fundamental part of things. But what would it take to get government to amend policies or maybe create the enabling policies?
Well, the only thing that takes government to take action in anything is, from my experience, how much are they going to get from it? Take Nigeria, for example. If you look at the data, Africa as a whole, there's a report by the McKinsey Group whereby they looked at the internet and the contribution of internet, you know, penetration to GDP. And when we talk of internet, you cannot have e-commerce with internet without internet. Nigeria, for example, has a GDP as of 2013 of about 521 billion. Of this, internet contributed less than, you know, e-commerce, internet related, contributed less than 1% to that GDP. But if you look at developed countries, you know, you look at Sweden, for example, which has the highest contribution of e-commerce internet to their GDP at about 6.3%. Senegal is about the highest in Africa, 3.3. Kenya, about 2.9. Now, if Nigeria can grow our internet base, our contribution to the average, you know, global average in developed countries at about 3%. That alone could add about an extra $10 billion to our GDP.
All right.
So if the government can realize these facts and then put in policies that makes e-commerce a thriving business, a lot will definitely improve.
All right. Talking about policies, I would like to know the specifics of these policies that can enhance e-commerce you're talking about.
Now let's look at what drives e-commerce. E-commerce is driven by the consumer making purchases online.
Yes.
The typical mentality of the African, the Nigerian, African as a whole is, I will only buy when I see. Right. You know, why is that? Because of, you know, will I say the pervasive nature of, you know, fraud and stuff, which we know is very much present. So what is going to drive the consumer to really trust the online platform is the enabling policies that are on the ground. Let's take, for example, Nigeria, which is our biggest base. The Consumer Protection Council Does it have any law enabling, protecting e-commerce transactions? I'm not aware of that, you know, because we discussed all this with our lawyers when we were setting up.
All right. So, sorry for, we'll still come back to this. I'm very interested in that. We have Paul now online from Ghana. Paul, I was asking earlier on that how much impact is e-commerce having on economic growth in Africa, especially if we have to take instance from Ghana?
Yes, thank you very much. And it's good to be back on this platform again. E-commerce, just like the other evolution that we've seen happening across the continent, I am very positive that in the last 2 decades, we've seen Africa recording a very impressive growth rate from all economies, from different angles. And you realize that we've seen mobile phone evolution as is happening across the African continent. So today, if you ask me about the impact of e-commerce on the African continent, I can really say that it has really improved trade, improved how the African people are connected from all parts of the continent. And you look at the fact that 15%, 20% of the African population of 1 billion are connected to the internet. That is a market that any investor will not want to overlook. So we are connected to the mobile phone evolution as we saw happening, especially from the East African side. And they actually broaden the scope of how Africans can actually do business on the continent.
All right. Now, for businesses that involve a lot of, offline activities, now, how much of a complementary role or competition does e-commerce bring to the system?
Yes, it's actually helping in different ways because, as I said, 15 to 20% of the African 1 billion population are online now. So you realize that the very things that infrastructure, like road networks, like poor postal services are inhibiting or restricting Africans from doing business. The e-commerce and electronic platform is making it happen. So you have a situation where poor road networks restricting people from doing business. You have the electronic platform due to the fact that millions of Africans are now on the platform. So mobile phone applications are helping these millions of Africans who would have been impossible for them to trade among themselves through the road network because of the lack of capacity in there, are now being able to trade among themselves. So that is actually a major step in terms of how Africans are able to trade among themselves. And the other part is the postal services, as I mentioned earlier on. We saw a situation where even addresses of people, how to even locate them is actually a challenge. But here's a situation where people can go online and process their information over there, give out their order, and at the end of the day, they are in to buy their preference on the market. So I think that those are the issues that we must bring to bear. How the e-commerce is able to open the space, open the economic space, involve most Africans who will not be able to get this opportunity, even though the e-commerce increases now.
Okay. Paul, I'm going to put you on hold for a little bit. We'll go on a quick break, and Africa Today will be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, following the emergence of e-commerce in Africa, a number of e-things, permit me to use that word, now happen on the continent through e-banking, e-payment, e-learning, e-transact, among others. Now, we still have Paul Frimpong from Ghana. Let me just ask you this before I let you go. What flaws have you noticed in the e-commerce sector, and how can they be corrected from your analysis?
Yes, I'm looking at quite some few number of challenges which requires attention in terms of how to improve on e-commerce as it's helping to get a lot of people to trade networks from all parts of the continent. I'm looking at online transaction processing, how accurate are the information being provided, how do you check the information that are being provided in terms of those who are offering the services and those who are online to actually purchase those services. We're also looking at security features here as well. How secure are the information that people put online in terms of having themselves engaging trying to trade or buy something online. So these are the two major issues that I'm trying to look at. So looking at online transaction processing, looking at security, and another aspect is the addressing system. Mostly, the e-commerce is actually seen among those in the urban centers. And there's a situation where in most countries in Africa, addressing systems are very, very, very bad. That's a challenge in there. So how do you ensure that in the urban centers you have a proper addressing system? So when I buy something online or use electronic platform to do a transaction, I get the required reply to the appropriate address going forward. So these are the three main challenges I'm trying to look at in terms of the online electronic transaction as we see in Africa.
Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us on Africa Today. Thank you. Right, he really raised some cogent points in there. But before we go into the issue of the challenge, because I really like people to know what these challenges are. You've been doing this thing on a daily basis. But let me ask, African countries are not known to be doing a lot of businesses between themselves or between each other, as the case may be. Using the e-commerce, is it changing? There's a lot of business going on between the countries.
E-commerce wise, I don't think so. Why? Because what does the typical African country have to offer the others? Let's take it for example. A lot of Nigerians are wanting to shop on eBay. They are wanting to shop on Amazon because you have a lot of items, millions of products at great prices that are over there. But do you have Nigerians wanting to shop from Cameroon or Ghana? There's really nothing there. So these are the things that are going to drive. And then apart from that, again, government policies come in. How easy is it for me to move a product from here to another location? We had, I think that was about a year ago, when we had a customer from Ghana. He ordered a couple of items from Amazon through our platform. And due to a little mix-up, it was delivered to Nigeria. Now, to deliver it back from Nigeria to Ghana cost us about 2-3 times what it would cost to ship it from the US to Ghana.
Wow.
So you see that there are still challenges between the African countries in terms of legislation that they need to take care of.
Now, in that kind of situation, who bears the cost of that?
We took care of that, because that was a little issue. But we've perfected the system. We don't have that kind of issues anymore. Take for example Europe. The European Union. You can move goods from Germany to UK to France virtually seamlessly, but in West Africa, though you have a West African Union, the authorities, the government have done nothing to ensure free flow of goods across the border. So until those regulations are put in place, it's going to be difficult to see such seamless transactions.
All right. When it comes to proper transport system, how does that affect or impact the delivery of goods as well?
That is the biggest factor. Like I mentioned earlier, in 2 days we deliver items from Amazon, eBay that our customers deliver to our warehouse in the US, down to Nigeria, down to Ghana. But when it gets to Nigeria here, it could take about 4 or 5 days to get it from Lagos to Kano, to Kaduna, to various regions where people are shopping from. So you see that the infrastructure still has a long way to go. We use local players to do the last mile delivery. A lot of them are not fully developed with efficient tracking system. You call them up and they tell you, hey, yeah, we had issues here, we had issues there. So that infrastructure has a long way to go, and that is our biggest challenge, getting it right, getting the right regulations to boost these sectors will make a big difference.
All right. Now, in this, for your business, for instance, your organization, if you have to take this kind of issue up now, what steps are you going to take, and who are the right persons to meet?
We want to boost e-commerce. Boosting e-commerce will have to do a lot with regulation is still the key, Like I said before, the Consumer Protection Council for Nigeria, for example, the last time they updated the act was, I think, 1992. You don't have anything in there that deals with e-commerce. So the typical consumer is still wary. If I buy something online, what protection is there for me if these things are not delivered?
All right.
You know, so when those things are taken care of, you're going to see a huge number of people jumping online because they know that, look, if I have issues with the delivery, this, that, you know, it's going to be taken care of. For my organization, what we had to do to forestall any of this type of issues and to boost customer confidence was we had to partner with a local insurance firm that ensures everything we are delivering, whether it's from the UK, US, or China, to our customers. So they have that guarantee and that peace of mind that should anything happen to their items while in transit, they are fully compensated. And when we took that step, we saw a huge leap in the number of people signing up and coming on board the platform. You know, so that assurance, that confidence that anything I buy, I pay online, it will be delivered. If it is not delivered, I have a regulatory body. I can go to file my complaint, and something will be done about it. That is going to give you a huge leap in transactions.
It's all right. Now, Africa has, in fact, most of the countries of Africa are usually mono economy. If you have to, if we have to narrow it down to Nigeria, oil is one big thing. Everyone is, you know, and so on. Now, the future of the economy as it's evolving, are we seeing e-commerce taking over in the area of creating employment for youth and all of that? What's the future of e-commerce in that regard?
The future of e-commerce in Africa is bright. It could be brighter with the right regulations. But as it is now, Africa, for example, you have a huge number. I think the last time, because we studied this data to know the countries to go into, you know, you have about 67 million mobile smartphones that are internet capable in Africa. So as this number of phones increase, you now have more people being able to, you know, to enter the e-commerce world. And what you see now is that the typical cost of an internet-enabled phone is dropping fast. So more people are able to access that. More people are able to go online. The cost of bandwidth is reducing. You know, so you are going to continue seeing a huge increase in the number of people going into e-commerce. And with that increase, you're going to have more jobs, you know, better infrastructure, a lot of things will kick in.
Okay, let's talk about one very phenomenal development in e-commerce is the virtual money, Bitcoin in the West. But we've not seen that aspect of things on the African continent yet. But how when it comes, how would that interplay develop?
When you say we've not seen that in the African context, I think we are.
Oh, really?
Take Kenya, for example, M-Pesa, whereby your phone is virtually your wallet. You know, you have the phone, but you are not seeing the money. So that is virtual money. You know, Paga in Nigeria is doing very good in that aspect too. First Bank, you have their First Money platform. That is also doing very, and you have a couple of other options out there. So the virtual money is really here, and it's working very well. It's still that trust that if I send money and for some reason the other person doesn't get it, who do I run to? That is still the key that is holding a lot of people.
All right. Now, before I let you go, shoptomydoor.com is doing the same thing that maybe Jumia or Konga or Alibaba or Amazon or eBay may be doing. But what's different or unique about shoptomydoor.com?
Well, what Shop to My Door has realized is that it's just like what you said, intercommerce between Africa. It's still very poor because most countries don't have what others need. You know, a lot of this is still out there in China, UK, US. So what shoptomydoor.com has come out to do is give Africans, Nigerians, the opportunity to be in their home and order products from Amazon, eBay. The concept we use is one that goes against the norm of what you see. Other platforms out there, what they have basically done is that they help you to make these purchases and they charge you a percentage. But what Shop to My Door has done is you go to our platform within a minute, you sign up, you are given a US, UK, and China address all for free. And you can use your Visa, MasterCard, shop on Amazon, eBay, deliver it to that address, and then we deliver it to you. With our logistics cost, delivery cost, typically 20 to 25% of what you get with the big players, you know, because of the nature of our business. You know, we don't go into a country unless we have a location that enables us consolidate shipment and bring it in as in bulk.
All right, Ndukaude, thank you very much for coming on Africa Today. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
And we thank Paul Frimpong for joining us from Ghana earlier on as well. The world's progression of commerce shows it took more than 2,000 years for modern monetary order to evolve and about 600 years for a banking system to be implemented with the introduction of credit and debit cards in the last 50 years. In Africa, e-commerce is said to be in its earliest years, and many believe the sector has the potential to empower millions of youths and lift citizens out of poverty. That's our show for today, but don't forget to follow us and join the conversation on Twitter at TVC Africa Today. I am Mike Okwoche, and remember, this is Africa. Bye for now.